King William's War, 1688 to 1697. Here is an image of the Maliseet and Mi'kmaq attack on the main settlement in 1690. For future reference, when we talk about the periods around 1749-50, it's look how what these Mi'kmaq and Maliseet have in their hands. These are obviously muskets, not stone axes. During King William's War, the Mi'kmaq, Acadians, and Maliseet participated in defending Acadia at its border with New England, which New France defined as the Kennebec River in southern Maine. Toward this end, the Maliseet, from their headquarters at Médectic on the St. John River, joined the New France expedition against present-day Bristol, Maine, which was the siege of Pemaquid in 1689, Salmon Falls, and present-day Portland, Maine. In response, the New Englanders retaliated by attacking Port Royal and present-day Guysborough. In 1694, the Maliseet participated in the raid on Oyster River at present-day Durham, New Hampshire. 2 years later, New France, led by Pierre Le Moyne d'Iberville, returned and fought a naval battle in the Bay of Fundy before moving on to raid Bristol, Maine. Again, in retaliation, the New Englanders, led by Benjamin Church, engaged in a raid on Chignecto in 1696 and the siege of the capital of Acadia at Fort Nashwauk. After the siege of Pemaquid, 1696, d'Iberville led a force of 124 Canadians, meaning Quebecois, Acadians, Mi'kmaq, and Abenakis on the Avalon Peninsula campaign. They destroyed almost every English settlement in Newfoundland. Over 100 English were killed, and many times that number captured, and almost 500 deported to England or France. At the end of the war, England returned the territory to France in the Treaty of Ryswick, and the borders of Acadia remained the same. Benjamin Church, the founder of the American Rangers. This is a posthumous illustration of Church. The tricorn hat is inaccurate. They didn't have tricorner hats at the time. Colonel Benjamin Church, 1639 to January 17, 1718, was a New England military officer and politician who was best known for his role in innovative military tactics, notably developing unconventional warfare. He is also known for commanding the first Ranger units in North America. Born in the Plymouth colony, Church was commissioned by Governor Josiah Winslow to establish a company of Rangers called after the outbreak of King Philip's War. Church participated in numerous conflicts which involved the New England colonies. The force of New Englanders he led tracked down and killed Wampanoag, Sachem, Metocomet, a major factor in ending the conflict. During the French and Indian Wars, Church participated in asymmetric warfare against the French and their indigenous allies. He led troops to raid the French colony of Acadia during King William's War and Queen Anne's War. Starting his military career at the rank of captain, he was promoted to major and subsequently to the rank of colonel. Church paid special care to outfitting, supplying, and instructing his troops in ways inspired by indigenous methods of warfare and ways of living. He emphasized the adoption of indigenous techniques, which prioritized small, mobile, and flexible units which used the countryside for cover in lieu of massed frontal assaults by large formations. Church also pioneered the use of indigenous warriors as auxiliaries to bolster and educate his soldiers. In 1716, his memoirs, entitled Entertaining Passages Relating to Philip's War, was published and is considered by some to constitute the first American military manual. Early life. Benjamin Church was born in the Plymouth colony in 1639, the son of Richard Church and Elizabeth Warren, the maternal grandson of Richard Warren, one of the passengers on the Mayflower. He was brought up according to the colonial practices on the American frontier. Church married Alice Southworth on December 26, 1667, in Duxbury, Massachusetts. He resided for a period of time in Duxbury before moving to Bristol, Rhode Island. Church later moved to Little Compton, Rhode Island, where he and his wife were eventually buried. Her gravesite is marked by a historically significant gravestone known as a table grave. King Philip's War. During King Philip's War, Church was the principal military aide to Governor Josiah Winslow of Plymouth Colony. Commissioned by Winslow as a captain on July 24, 1675, he fought during King Philip's War, which was from 1675 to 1678, on the New England frontier against the Wampanoag, Nipmuc, and Podunk tribes of Indians. He is best known during this time for commanding a company of Englishmen and Native Americans independently of the governor's direction. Church's men were the first colonial force to be successful in raiding the hostile Indians' camps in forests and swamps. During previous decades, colonists had been on the defense against the natives, who knew their territory intimately. Relations were generally peaceful until 1675, but tensions had been growing as the colonists and their views of property encroached on Indian territory and hunting grounds. Church was allowed to recruit Native Americans after he and other leaders realized that traditional European military tactics were ineffective in frontier warfare. He also persuaded many neutral or formerly hostile Indians to surrender and join his unit, where they operated skillfully as irregular troops. Some of these men had converted to Christianity in settlements before the war. They were known as praying Indians. After being organized by Church, these troops tracked hostile Indians into the forests and swamps and conducted effective raids and ambushes on their camps. In the summer of 1675, Church spoke out against the colonial practice of enslaving Indians, describing the practice as an action so hateful that I opposed it to the loss of the goodwill and respect of some that before were good friends. However, Church was not opposed to the enslavement of black people, owning black slaves like many of his fellow colonists. Remember, that was the regular thing at the time. We shouldn't be imposing prejudice on their particular period. The Great Swamp Fight. This is a portrait of Metacomet by Paul Revere from the 1722 edition of Benjamin Church's The Entertaining History of King Philip's War. During the Great Swamp Fight on December 19, 1675, Church was wounded while serving as an aide to Governor Winslow, the commander of the colonial forces in the battle. Forces of the colonies of Massachusetts, Plymouth, and Connecticut killed an estimated 300 Narragansett warriors and an unknown number of women and children of the Narragansett tribe. The surviving Narragansetts fled and remained in hiding for the remainder of the war. After the Great Swamp Fight, Church and the colonial army were 15 miles from their base in North Kingstown and had to endure a long march encumbered by dragging their dead and wounded in severe cold. The war ended 8 months later following an operation by Church's company on August 12, 1676. John Alderman, one of Church's Indian allies, killed King Philip, who was also known as Metacomet, leader of the Wampanoag tribe. Upon inspection of Philip's body, Church is quoted as saying, "A doleful, great, naked, dirty beast." Metacomet's body was in accordance with the standard punishment for treason, hung, drawn, and quartered. Metacomet is King Philip. This is a 1903 illustration by John Alderman and Church, inspecting Metacomet's corpse. Again, Metacomet is King Philip. During King William's War, 1688 to 1697, Church led 4 New England raiding parties into Acadia, which included most of Maine, against the ethnic French Acadians and hostile Native Americans, including the Abenaki. On the first expedition into Acadia on September 21st, 1689, Major Church, who was promoted to Major and given command of the expedition by the Council of War of Plymouth Colony on September 6th, and 250 troops defended a group of English settlers in the Deering Oaks at the Battle of Brackett's Wood. The British were trying to get established at Falmouth, Maine, which is present-day Portland, Maine, although 21 of his men were killed. Church was successful, and the hostile natives retreated. Church returned to Boston, leaving the small group of English settlers unprotected. The following spring, May 1690, over 400 French and native troops under the leadership of Castine returned to Falmouth and massacred all the settlers at the Battle of Fort Loyal. When Church returned to the village later that summer, he buried the dead. This is an engraved portrait by Paul Revere that is believed to be of Church, which is at the Yale University Art Gallery. The portrait has been identified as the English poet Charles Churchill. So, is this Benjamin Church, or is this Charles Churchill? In Church's second expedition, a year later, on September 11th, 1690, he commanded 300 men at Casco Bay. His mission was to recapture Fort Pejipscot, which is present-day Brunswick, Maine, which had been taken by natives. He went up the Androscoggin River to Fort Pejipscot. From there, he traveled 40 miles up the river to Livermore Falls, Maine, where he attacked the Androscoggin native village. Church's men shot 3 or 4 native men as they were retreating. Church discovered that 5 English captives in the wigwams and proceeded to kill 6 or 7 prisoners and took 9 prisoners. A few days later, in retaliation, the Androscoggin attacked Church at Cape Elizabeth on Perpudok Point, killing 7 of his men and wounding 24 others. On September 26, Church returned to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Church's third expedition during the war was in 1692, when he raided the Penobscot territory of, which is present-day Indian Island, Maine, with 450 men. Church and his men went on to raid Taconic, which was superseded by Winslow, Maine. And 4 years later, Major Church conducted a fourth expedition. He carried out the siege of Nashwauk in 1696, which is present-day Fredericton, New Brunswick, which was then the capital of Acadia, and the raid on Chignecto in 1696 in Acadia. He was described as weighing approximately 250 pounds. Church was a big fat guy, but personally led his troops. They killed the inhabitants of Chignecto, looting their household goods, burning their houses, and slaughtering the livestock. Queen Anne's War. During Queen Anne's War, Church went on his 5th and final expedition into Acadia. The Deerfield Massacre had taken place in western Massachusetts on February 29, 1704, believed conducted by Indians provoked by the French. In addition to killing many settlers, the Abenaki and allies took more than 100 captives overland to Montreal and the Mohawk village south of the river. The captives were often held for ransom by families and communities. Some of the younger ones were adopted by Mohawk families. On March 18, 1704, Church was commissioned as a colonel by Massachusetts Governor Joseph Dudley and placed in command of a force to raid French settlements in Acadia in retaliation for Deerfield. This expedition included the following actions: the raid on Castine, Maine, raid on St. Stephen, New Brunswick, raid on Grand Pre, raid on Pisquid, present-day Falmouth and Windsor, and the raid on Chignecto. Church meticulously planned the expedition. He specified the design of whaleboats to be used in the raids and what kind of hatchets his soldiers were to carry. Church took John Giles, formerly held as a captive by the Malicete, as his translator. Church took prisoners and claimed to have left only 5 houses standing in Acadia. In the raid of Pisiquid, 1704, he took the leader, Noel Doiron, as prisoner. Tactics and war doctrine. While Church left no formal writings on military doctrine, his memoirs provided considerable detail about his practices. Through the study of his military experiences, scholars have summarized his practices according to the following principles. Number 1, planning each operation in advance, not leaving anything to chance. Number 2, ensuring the soldiers under his command were properly trained, fed, and equipped. Number 3, building alliances with potential allies, i.e., Native Americans, who may have been overlooked or mistrusted by other commanders. Number 4, using stealth and surprise to tactical advantage. Number 5, understanding how a tactical operation fits in with strategic objectives. Number 6, leading by example and from the front. And number 7, maintaining communications with higher and lower echelons. Later life. Church was elected to public office as the first representative of Bristol in the Plymouth Colony legislature, serving from 1682 and 1684. Church died at Little Compton in 1718 and was buried in the Little Compton Common Cemetery. This is Church's grave in Little Compton Common Church, where he kept his notes on tactics and operations in 1675, 1676. His work was eventually published in 1716 as Entertaining Passages Relating to Philip's War. Church was the great-grandfather of Dr. Benjamin Church, the first Surgeon General, though that title came later, of the Continental Army. Dr. Church, thought to have been a staunch Whig, was later arrested by General George Washington as a suspected spy for British General Thomas Gage. Rogers Rangers and Gorham's Rangers were militia developed according to the tradition begun by Church. In 1992, in honor of his innovative tactical methods, Church was inducted into the U.S. Army Ranger Hall of Fame. A bronze Ranger tab was affixed to his gravestone to mark this. The main character in the movie The Patriot 2000 is loosely based on Church, as well as other historical figures, and references the guerrilla tactics Church used in previous engagements. The movie features Mel Gibson starring as Benjamin Martin. Benjamin Church died 57 years before the American Revolutionary War started in 1775. The Rhode Island Society of Colonial Wars placed a plaque near Colonel Church's grave in honor of his leadership and bravery during King Philip's War.